Yeah, all those magazines you put up there, no one can see them. Well, they can't. Oh, they can do on Facebook. You just can't see them on YouTube. Yeah, why?
You mean the set dressing?
Why?
Delilah.
Exactly. So, we were at
Did you want
the World Cup launch.
that? We were.
Advert. This is what pays our bills. What bills? What money? Adverts on YouTube. India, home of Buddha. We were at the World Cup draw in, in Manchester.
They didn't allow us in the palace.
Well, invited to Buckingham Palace. Ollie scores well there because he's got an MBE, hasn't he? So, MBE? No, OB. He's got an OB, hasn't he? Properly. So we weren't at the actual thing, but we were in Manchester getting sandwiches, basically.
We did.
No stash, though, for those who want to know these things. And me, you and Mark Wilson's not here due to salary cap issues. So last time we got in touch with Saracens for advice. Me, you and Mark Wilson, we stood there at the front, I think trying to get into the good seats, but they moved us on quickly.
We didn't get the reserved area.
No, and this athletic looking lady walked past us and we all did a double take. It was like, do we know her? And I went, yes, Rebecca Remington offered the swimming. So she was at the World Cup draw, but I've got actually no idea why, because she didn't do a speech or anything. She just there. I'm not saying she should have been there.
She likes rugby league.
Big fan of the Mansfield Marksman. I think she's from down that area, or Nottingham City. She used to be a regular down at the Harvey Hammond Stadium, or whatever it was called.
Harvey Howard Stadium.
Yeah, Harvey Howard Stadium. Last week it was Runcorn, this week Nottingham. I'm going to do a video of teams that don't exist in rugby league anymore. I was going to put Bradford Northern on there, but I thought it might cause too much controversy. But because it would boil the urine of those people, I may well do it anyway. Welcome to the programme. Yes.
Still pre-season.
Yeah. Mark's lost his voice, which, as a broadcaster, is one of the important tools of this business. So he's not here. He might be back next week, hopefully.
Well, we've got the launch this week. We might actually be talking about forthcoming rugby league.
I mean, hopefully we'll be speaking to all the top people in rugby league, top Super League people, on Friday. As I said on Twitter the other day, last week on 4020 TV, we spoke to the England captain, we spoke to the 2018 Golden Boot winner, two members of the shortlist for the Woman of Steel, and then I realised all three of them, because Emily Rudge, the England captain, was also on the list, including the winner. People from high up in the RFL, the Wales international coach, amongst others. I don't think people in our sphere, well, I wouldn't say they're in that, realise how lucky they are to get the access they get to the people they do. And they'll never learn.
Can I make a plea?
You can do.
Can I make a plea to the sport of rugby league to go on the offensive? That Mossy Masoya side, and we want to send our extreme best wishes to him. This time last week, when he'd just been transferred to hospital, we weren't sure of the extent of his injury, and sadly now it's clear that his career has come to an end. So we wish him nothing but a speedy recovery and to be as comfortable as he can, as quickly as he can. We're on a bit of a high at the moment as a sport. Sonny Bill Williams signs. Tragedy around Rob Burrow, but even Rob himself would acknowledge the fact that he's been able to do stuff because of the manner in which his illness has been handled. He's all about profile for the disease that he's tragically suffering, and he has made great strides in that department. Added to the fact that Ricky Gervais sent him a message that's been seen by over 1.5 million people. You mentioned the World Cup launch. Absolutely fantastic. Hats off to RLWC 2021.
It all went well. There was no one dropped the ball or.
But I mean, the whole, yes, you've got to capitalise on opportunities, but the whole Prince Harry thing, it'll be the last time he does something as HRH. But again, still wants to stay involved with the sport. They clearly genuinely has a passion for. But all the arrangements surrounding the draw and where it was seen and the amount of contextual reports that had to be written as to what it was he was actually doing when he was seen in public. So all of that, plus the fact that the season is now going to launch, puts us on the front foot. Now against that, we seem to have the most recognisable brand of Club Rugby Union Club in absolute total and utter disarray. And people talking about the governing body of the rival sport in more disparaging terms than has ever been said about the RFL or even
Because the people
Super
don't know,
League.
you see, do they? That's the good thing. They don't realise.
So I just think this is a great week with leading up to the official launch of our premier competition to go on the front foot.
So I know. Friday's when it launches. Today's Monday, so we've got 4 days to copy it up somewhere.
Let's get aggressive. Let's really push ourselves forward. Let's
hope no one's going to report on the finances of rugby clubs to the league on the same day as the launch. I've said that, doesn't it?
And if I was a club that perhaps didn't have my full quota of players at the moment, and the salaries of certain people wouldn't count on the salary cap this particular year, although you still have to pay those salaries, I'd go and take about 3 or 4 of the Saracens players. And
Have they got anyone good?
Put them in Toronto Wolfpack shoes.
Have they got anyone good?
Haven't they got one of the Farrell boys that...
If his surname was something different and he's done who he was someone different, no one would care about him, would they? Which is bizarre.
They've got
lots of England internationals.
Yeah, they've got players who are instantly recognisable.
Saracens Football Club, apparently, according to Wikipedia, that's their name. What has been bizarre about this has been the almost sympathetic reporting by certain quarters of the press as if, oh, it's so sad that they've been caught breaking the rules and all the people are going to be disadvantaged because of this.
No.
Because, of course, Owen Fowler's not going to get a job.
Let's just raid all
elsewhere.
of their England internationals.
Yeah. I am enjoying the hubris, the people saying, well, this is one of the biggest scandal ever in rugby union. I think he collaborated with the Nazis. It doesn't compare with that.
That's quite important.
Yeah. Owen Farrell.
He can play.
Alex Good, I've heard of him. Billy Vunipola, he's foreign, he can't play. Marco Vunipola, the Vunipolas.
Marco Polo.
Yeah. They've got loads of people.
He'd be
They've got
perfect going to Canada.
I thought they used to have loads of South Africans in their team, but apparently they don't these days, which is a surprise.
I think we'll probably talk about Brian McDermott and what he said about Toronto being disadvantaged at the moment, but I do think that they could go to Saracens and pull off a couple of coups.
Speaking of their boiling urine, big fan of Brian McDermott because he always knows when to say things and how to annoy people, doesn't he? I know our friend Sid, he's annoyed. We didn't like Toronto anyway. But yeah, Brian McDermott wants, well, Mel's asked us, does the panel think, that Toronto Wolfpack should have dispensation, be able to sign players, and not be penalised for overstepping the salary cap?
I don't think it's about overstepping the salary cap. I think it's about having a weighting on the salary cap that acknowledges the fact that they are playing in a city that has a higher cost of living than most of the towns and cities of the north of England. And it's not as if it would be setting a precedent. This is the bit I don't understand.
This is the bit where I have to say, what's it more expensive to live in Manchester than Leeds?
The north of England. I think the really interesting thing is that this isn't something new. It's like, oh, we can't give Toronto no. Look, when Catalan were brought in, they were given dispensation against relegation, which one year they needed. They finished bottom of the league and Castleford went down instead of them. When London were brought in, London weighting was added to their salary cap because it was acknowledged that to get players to go down to the capital, not only you needed an incentive, but actually you then needed to pay them up to 30% more just to cover the cost of living. Toronto is what, the 5th largest city in North America, and again the cost of living is extremely high. So yeah, I just think you've got to decide why you're bringing them in the first place. What function do you want them to fulfil? And like the NRL decided with Melbourne, they wanted to open a new market, and so they allowed Melbourne did a Saracens, let's not forget, but by then they were standing on their own.
And they had all
feet.
their things taken off them as well.
Yes.
All their trophies.
But initially, Melbourne were given some financial advantages to make sure that when they played at the highest level, they had a chance of competing. So if we want a genuinely competitive Super League, if we want the American market to be exploited in some way, if we're being told by Toronto that they're paying above top dollar just to get people to commit, then yes, I think he's making a very valid and fair point that they deserve something to allow them to sign the requisite number of players that they need, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't see the point of going into a season with 23 players, because I think you are automatically uncompetitive.
Well, I'll ask social media, because they'll know the answer. As far as I'm aware, Ralph's not on Twitter, is he? He should be on Twitter. People could say to him directly what they think. Not even though it's got anything to do with Ralph, but...
Well, that's another bit I don't understand. Who's doing the legislation, and who, on whose basis are they doing it for? Because it seems that the salary cap is controlled by the RFL and Super League. No, let's not go there.
Owen Farrell.
Women's Rugby League is another one that, is it coming under Super League or is it administered by the RFL? Because
RFL, isn't it?
I do believe that Super League are going to have within their 30-minute weekly programme a section on the women's game, but technically it's not their competition.
Well, they're going to get the footage of. I'm going to pay the Rugby Football League for use of the Our League app. Maybe they're just going to nick it off the app. Owen Farrell, would you sign him? Is he any good?
Yes.
Tell me.
He's played Rugby League as a junior. He would immediately be able to make that transition. A top level sportsman will be able to offer something to Toronto, but it's his marketing value. As a sport, we keep going back to the last era we were great was when we signed all those rugby union players like Jonathan Davis, and Owen Farrell is at the top of his game. He's played in a World Cup final last autumn, was it? So yeah, get him in.
I didn't watch it.
Get him in.
Bring his dad back. Get him back in. Sandy's now arguing with people about Toronto.
Well,
on Facebook, because Tim started saying that they're based in Rochdale. Which is more than, at least they might get a game in Rochdale because they can't play at the minute. They're staying, their pitch is knackered.
I'm not here to be defending Toronto, but there was a game last week at Lamport Stadium, or known as the Thunderdome because it's currently has a canvas roof over the top, which clearly affects the attendance. It wouldn't be suitable for Super League. It was minus 25 outside at the time, so you can understand why. And East of Canada played West of Canada, both at men's and women's, and Toronto hosted it at Lamport. So there is some development going on. They're based at Hotwood Hall at the moment in Rochdale, but that's not the brief that they have for spreading the game.
How many pages in do I have to find the World Cup draw? Because of course Canada will be playing England in the women's competition. Maybe it's the World Cup draw. It's the biggest thing that happens. Have I missed it? Have I just gotten past it completely? I must have done.
Surely you did.
I must have done. England play Canada. God, it's there on the second page. You can see it. There's just a picture of Sir Kev. Not an actual Sir still. But
It's only a matter of
he's
time.
been indoctrinated now. I believe he's actually a Sir because everyone keeps calling him Sir Kev. So like one day I believe Boris Johnson's the Prime Minister. England's women will take on Papua New Guinea, Brazil and Canada. So I saw Canada were asking on social media for people if they want to trial for the team.
The Ravens.
England, Brazil. As we were saying on Thursday at the draw, no one in the real world outside of Rugby League has any idea that Brazil are a new thing. Is that a polite way of putting it? And they're not necessarily an established international force in international Rugby League. But the people don't know that. So you say England versus Brazil to people, and they'll go.
That's exotic.
I'm sure the organisers know that'll be a heading league. Although there seems to be some confusion between people involved in the World Cup as to where the opening game of the Women's World Cup is going to be held. But it seems to be a heading league.
It is a heading on a Tuesday
Not
night.
Anfield, it's a heading league. People can, we saw with the England-Jamaica fixture, which was well promoted, got the Jamaican steel drum band in, just
We'll be sambering down the
Yeah.
touchline.
put them in a different colour shirt, no one will know.
I
It's going to be.
I have to say that the World Cup draw was one of the most uplifting things that the sport has had for quite a while. And when you see nations like Norway, Spain, United States, Brazil, all those Pacific nations drawn out, we felt and seemed like a big sport. It was great to see all sectors of the game represented. Where we were at Salford, they clearly wouldn't have allowed us anywhere near Buckingham Palace. But Ralph Rimmer was there, Robert Elston was there, as you say, Rebecca Adlington was there. There was a sprinkling of stardust, but all sections of the game were represented. Keith Senior gave an impassioned speech about why mental health is important, and I think we shouldn't forget that one of the major events around the World Cup draw was the launch of the Mental Fitness Charter, which voiced over by HRH, no longer the man formerly known as Prince. That there aren't many sports that would get him to endorse in such an explicit way the work that they're doing. Absolutely brilliant, and again, I think you went to the RFL launch of all things other than Super League. We're going to the one on Friday for the main competition. If I was Ralph Rimmer and Robert Elston in that room, I'd be thinking there's been a benchmark set there by Rugby League World Cup. That's what we need to aspire to. Our videos need to be as good as theirs. Our imaginative thinking about how we promote something, what we put out on the morning of the game, the morning of the briefing. All of that needs to tie in some way, and we haven't quite mastered that. I noticed today that Channel 9 have done a promotional video for the new NRL season, which harks back to its 30 years since Tina Turner came up with the Simply the Best idea. It's revisiting that, and it marries up the players that were in that original video with the stars of the modern day. That's come out almost 2 months before their season kicks off.
Well, their season doesn't start next week.
No. There's no friendlies being played at the moment. We've got to get cuter.
Well,
And I think the World Cup couldn't be anything other than more impressed and praiseworthy than what we were part of. I think we came away from that thinking, this has been a real event.
is that what happens when you decide to spend your budget wisely on getting a professional PR firm to do your PR for you?
It might have something to do with it, and I suspect that the firm that they've chosen was deliberately done because it has a lot of rugby league related people who work for it. I think also it's not just the one firm that deals with the PR. I think they've engaged 3 or 4 firms about the staging of it, how it looked, and event management. And yes, the argument, I'm sure if they were here from the RFL and maybe even Super League, would be they have a bigger budget to do that. But sometimes it's how you spend it. It's the ability to think about getting kids involved, taking the ball draws to be put in the pots. It's the getting the touch and pass played on the lawn at Buckingham Palace. Those are the images that get sent around the world, and it's thinking about that, which is not a cost thing. It's just an imagination thing that I thought were really, really impressive and served the game superbly. The Queen leaning out the window shouting "Get one on the side" was one of the highlights.
Steve's been on. Mako Vanapolo and Ben Earl have just been sitting in East Hull in a fish shop near the Hull KR ground, so it's already happening.
Good enough.
All the Saracens are off to Hull Kingston Rovers. No one will know.
Let's just steal them.
Yeah. Get them to retire, and then they don't have to pay off the contracts or anything. They don't have to pay any fees.
Well, I suspect being relegated probably effectively releases them from their contracts anyway. But
Sammy's play Yorkshire, Leeds, Carnegie Tykes this year. Well, they might get relegated, so that's bad times. Good old Saracens. But I have loved the completely sympathetic reporting to them cheating. Good. Dave's impressed by the full range of Rated Zeds available.
You want to go anywhere around the West Yorkshire region, then we've got the stuff for you.
Find Dewsbury's ground. What else is going on social media? Lots of people arguing about Toronto because the new season is here. Everybody.
Well, of course, now that they've beaten Castle,
well, yes, they're great now. They're the favourites to win the Super League.
Well, we might as well give them the title now.
Yeah.
That was without Sonny Bill. Imagine how good they're going to be with him and John Wilkin playing.
Told Money Bill Williams. Yeah.
I mean, we've all said this every year. You don't read too much into
nothing into
pre-season. It's impressions, and you'd rather be winning than losing. But if you lose a pre-season game, it doesn't mean you're rubbish. If you win one, you're not automatically champions. But I think that was quite a significant result for Toronto in their first hit out.
The bookmakers who know,
well, they tend not to
somewhere between nothing and lot. They had Castle as 8-point favourites yesterday, which was interesting. So they also had Sheffield as 8-point favourites, and they definitely didn't cover that handicap. So that's all right. Well done, Sheffield, on winning the Yorkshire Cup. Go get it from. Can't take it behind the bins at Odsal.
So here's a question. We had 3 big testimonial games yesterday. Big as in the players who were rightly lauded for their long-term service. Louis McCarthy Scars, one of the game's great characters. Liam Farrell,
4020 magazine columnist.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention.
So that in for
consistently one of Wigan's best over the last 10 years, Liam Farrell.
Yes.
And definitely one of Castleton's finest servants, Michael Shelton.
Yes.
The combined attendance for those 3 games was only just over 10,000.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there's a lot to pay out at the moment, but do you think that is those relatively low attendances, and particularly low for the contribution that those players have made to their respective clubs, is again down to the fact that the season kicked off too early and is too long?
I think whoever chooses the pictures at League Express will get sacked for advertising the rival publication on the back of the Castlewood shirts. Yeah, 3,346 at Cass. And Toronto is, well, we're told, and the evidence suggests, they are a glamour side. People would come, Toronto, they're foreign.
And he was there, even though he didn't play.
Wigan and Leeds, 3,717 at the DW. I mean, I imagine it costs a lot to open the stadium. Even if you only have one stand. And 4,125 at Saints. Obviously, playing against a team they won't play against again this season in London, which is not the case for Wigan and Castleford. But yeah, 4,000. That's probably about what you'd expect, isn't it? Do you think? Or
but I just think it's a consequence of the elongated season that we've played. It's now hitting testimonial games, and it shouldn't, because all of those 3 players deserve much more recognition.
Batley versus Hull, testimony for no one, but still Super League opposition going to Batley, 920.
Would that be Hull playing the team that they didn't eventually do a dual register deal with?
Because they now do a reg, of course, with the Bradford Bulls.
Even though they've sent 2 of their players to League.
Dewsbury Bradford, 1,290. But we don't know how many of those were home or away.
Was that the Landlord v Tenant Cup?
778 at Doncaster Sheffield, which probably about right, yeah. Widnes North Wales, 1,217, that's a good crowd. Because you expect Widnes would have won that game comfortably or whatever. And 452 at Keighley against the Brewers.
But I just think that those attendances for the guys themselves are lower than they should be, and I don't particularly want to blame fans, because I think they're being asked a lot at this time of year.
It's not cheap to watch games that aren't
part of your pack. But is it that we're starting too early? That you're looking ahead and thinking, oh, this is now going on until, if you include the Aussies, middle of November. So that some of the people who are losing out are those we should be fighting.
Get rid of those loop fixtures again.
And it was foggy in the northwest yesterday.
Oh, was that the other reason people didn't go?
Freezing
Fog.
Freezing it. But
we wait until week 1 of Super League when some wag will go, summer rugby, hashtag, and it's snowing or something. I don't know. No one seems to want to give Toronto dispensation. The Salford faithful, in a nutshell, no. Salary cap is there for a reason. Why should they get special privileges? Where's Dr. Marwan when you need him?
It's not a special privilege if it's a weighting towards expense.
Gav says they should be allowed a dispensation to sign more youth players than need squad depth and couldn't possibly have an academy set up already. See, at least
More
Gav
youth
not
players
saying
from where, though?
League, Manchester, I don't know. No, says Roy. Teams know the terms and conditions of the game, abide by them.
But why were Catalan Dragons given a dispensation from relegation when they first came into Super League? Because the other clubs realised that if you're going to have them in and they're going to be an asset to the competition, you have to allow them to grow. And an instant relegation would have been the death of them, a bit like what happened to... Paris wasn't set up properly when Super League started, and within 2 years it had gone because it didn't fulfil any kind of purpose. It literally was a team of mercenaries that came in from Australia and played under a banner of Paris. If we're serious about exploiting the North American market to the benefit of everybody, then do you have to at least acknowledge the fact that to live in a city like Toronto is a different cost base to living in the North of England?
Castleford.
Powerhouse or not.
Paul says, any real ale lovers who visit Saints for Saints Gold Ale, you'll be disappointed as it's being discontinued.
Right.
That's the breaking news from St Helens. Sheila says, Mike Cooper's testimony on Thursday. Hope he gets a decent turnout, being a local lad as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, an interesting day to play because as we know everyone hates Thursdays because we keep being told. It does mean they can turn up the day after the Super League launch at Headingley in fine feather. That's Warrington versus Salford. Also on Thursday, Lee versus Wigan, which Wigan have announced today they're going to live stream, so that's interesting. Wakefield play Huddersfield on Wednesday, get yourself down to the Mobile Rocket. Friday, Doncaster versus Wakefield Reserves. Fev versus Leeds. Gareth Gale's going to get you. Scored again at the
I
weekend.
think that might be interesting.
London Derby on Saturday, Swinton Warrington, Whitehaven North Wales on Sunday, Barrow Workington, Batley Huddersfield, Bradford York, Keighley Sheffield, and Newcastle versus Leeds. God, Leeds are busy this weekend. That's why I'm at Newcastle.
Leeds Academy, I think.
So that's the excitement of the pre-season games coming up this week. Lee versus Wigan, as I say, the club are live streaming. They tweeted about that earlier. Lots of people yesterday very upset that Castleford versus Toronto wasn't live streamed and this, that, and the other.
Would they pay?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And people say to me, "Oh, well, I'll pay, blah blah blah." And I don't mind what the quality's like, but the problem is when you are paying for something, it does matter what the quality's like.
I don't think it needs to be HD, 32 cameras, every angle covered.
But bizarrely, this is in HD. You realise that?
No, but what I did watch a little bit of on Saturday afternoon was Toulouse against the Catalan Dragons,
yes,
which was live streamed. Now, I assume values were really high, considering that it may only have been a couple of cameras, but there were, authentic French commentary. The band in the background, which is always a joy, because they actually do have a band that it stays in tune.
Yeah.
But it looked really good. 4,500 people were there. It wasn't anybody's testimony. Sun was shining in Carcassonne where the game was staged, but it was live streamed to a quality where you'd have said if you'd have charged £3 or £4 for that, you'd have felt you got value for money. But we're going to live stream a game that's at Lee.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it Lee's game?
We're not going back to that. Where's Workington banning proper sport again?
No, I'm not saying they should ban, but isn't it Lee's game to stream rather than Wigan?
This is the interesting position we're in now, where I think people expect everything to be broadcast, and there isn't the money.
And the trouble is, because of, we've said it before, our league is showing as much as it possibly can for no money. There is no transaction changing hands, that now everybody expects something for nothing.
And having a vague idea is the best way of putting it, of how much it may or may not cost to stream a game to the quality of our league. I don't think it's necessarily feasible unless people are going to pony up £5 plus per game. And I've got a feeling that people are going to say, well, actually, let's go watch a snooker instead for a pre-season friendly. It's a tricky one. I understand people want to see everything, but you're also then saying, we'll use Castle as an example, yesterday against Toronto, right? So they got a glamour pre-season game against Toronto, Michael Shenton's testimonial. They want as many people inside the ground as possible, not just to pay the whatever it costs to go in, but the beer, the sausage rolls, the sweets,
and to
the
perhaps
shirts.
donate some of it to Michael Shenton.
You then put on a stream, as we say, it's January. You put Leeds Wigan on the stream, in the Wigan Leeds rather, in the fog.
Which I think Wigan TV did.
Is that going to stop you going? Possibly.
Well,
Because
the other thing is we have to be aware at this time of year that we're not a first choice sport. So when Liverpool play Manchester United, which even for a neutral football fan is deemed to be one of the big games of the season, then there's a fair chance that when it's freezing fog outside, people will go, well, it's a friendly, or I could sit in my lounge with the fire on, eating marshmallows, watching a big event. Watching Roy Keane argue with Michael Carrick. Arguably more entertaining than the game itself.
I think, as you say, a lot of people want something for nothing. And even if they say they will pay. There is I think you have to do, he says, talking to two mobile phones on tripods. I think you have to do things, if you're doing games or whatever, to a standard. Not quite Sky's 24 cameras or whatever they've got these days on their coverage, but it has to look better than just someone pointing a mobile phone at something. And whether people want to pay for that, I don't think they do. They
I think they will pay for something that is deemed to be an event in itself. So if you play the same team 6 times, then it's not an event. If you only get the one opportunity, home or away, to play it, to see a team play, then yes, there is a premium attached to that. It goes right back again to when do we start, how many games do we play, how do you make money and promote the games that are played. Well, it will be interesting.
Interesting times ahead. I did like people just live streaming the game on their phones on Facebook Live yesterday. That was quite good. And that's something that clubs are going to have to be wary of, because the more demand there are for games that people can't see, then the more people are going to do that. And an interesting precedent to go down. Scully's going to be back. People asking where is he? He's coming back.
Scully, he's working off a pre-season injury.
Picked up a knock in pre-season.
Yes, he did. He did say that he was struggling to concentrate for the full 2 hours. I said nothing's changed then. No, I'm joking.
Vision and awareness.
He's recovering from some minor surgery and is not yet fit enough, but hopes to be in place when the real action starts.
So let's read his comment in the paper book. There's the paper in front of me and put a voice on.
Yeah.
What's he said?
Yeah.
Oh, is that Fred Trumnoff again, darling? The countdown to the The situation surrounding Prince Harry (brackets rights) and Meghan meant huge publicity when blah blah blah.
Prince Harry, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Was that right wing?
That's his fancy dress outfits, not his political views. So Scott's happy because England Samoa's going to be at St James's Park.
Well, the thing
Which
is,
I always get confused where the apostrophe goes. But,
we've got 18 months to sell that game. There is no reason why we shouldn't be ambitious. Going back to what we were saying at the start of the programme, we should aim for a sellout for that now. If Sonny Bill were to play, were to play for Samoa, even better.
750,000 tickets they're wanting to sell. What was great in the build-up, all the games are going to be on the BBC. Most of them will be online, which is fine, because by the time we get to 2021, the world's going to have changed again. So it doesn't matter that they're not on TV. Everyone forgets that the last World Cup, the majority of the games were on Premier Sport. So had a viewing figures of 0. As much as we can all get.
And you had
the World Cup, but one, not the World Cup we just had. I don't think there was on that one. So what was it? Because we had the whole New Zealand Tonga debacle, didn't we?
Mm.
And those people still say, "Oh, we should sell the game to free sport." salary cap down to £4.50. And then, so it's all going to be on the telly,
Accessible.
all of it.
Some of it will be
wheelchair
on the
games.
red button.
Yeah.
But that's how we consume these days.
England versus whoever it was at the Copper Box, I've forgotten already. In the open game.
Australia.
Of course! And again, we're better than the Australians, so that'll be good. So we can build that up. Everything's got something you can sell because it's the World Cup. And people will
It's
go,
meaningful.
oh, well, what if England beat Greece 100-0? Have you seen the Football World Cup? Teams win ridiculous scores.
Well, the women's football World Cup, didn't the USA beat somebody 13-0 or something?
Possibly.
We didn't say let's abandon women's sport on the back of that
Well,
one
some
result.
people did, but they're those misogynist people. England versus Greece, anyway, 100-0. I'm on Tom Johnson over 5.5 tries, so can break the record.
I think we'll also find that Greece will have some players of heritage.
They will find
Michael Korkidis will come out of retirement.
He's in Wakefield's team of the decade. He could be in there. England, Samoa, France and Greece. Australia, Fiji, Scotland and Italy. New Zealand, the Lebanon, Jamaica and Ireland. Lebanon, Jamaica.
It's a game you'd want to see.
And the group of death, which is Group D. Tonga, Papua New Guinea, Wales, Cook Islands. The women's competition, England, Papua New Guinea, Canada, Brazil as mentioned. Australia, New Zealand, France and the Cook Islands.
Australia, New Zealand.
Well, I asked Emily Rudge, the England captain, would you have preferred to play New Zealand in the group stage or potentially play them in the semi-final? And it's kind of a 6 and 2 threes because playing in the group stage you get beaten up. You might have to play Australia in the semi-final.
I think it's a great draw for England's win.
It's great, isn't it? Papua New Guinea, after losing to them in the test series over the autumn. Then the wheelchair drawing. Well, it is 1-1, yeah. But they only showed one on the telly. Oh, if it happens on telly, it counts. If it doesn't happen on TV, it doesn't count. Then the wheelchair competition. England, Australia, Spain and Norway. France, Wales, Scotland, USA. This programme's been accused, by the way, of not talking about wheelchair rugby enough, so now we need to talk about it more.
Well, I think the word that sums it up is brutal. It's a wonderful spectacle. I think when
I spoke to James Simpson last week.
we were on air around the time that England played France in the last World Cup final.
Yes.
One of the greatest games I've seen, which was live streamed, and fantastic that we got the chance. It was very early days of international wheelchair rugby. Brilliant. If you get the chance to go to a game, you'll see how brutal it is. We're talking about volunteering
Me, yes.
you
Well,
and possibly Mark to at least have a session down at a club.
well, if I'm good, I might get into the England squad. I mean, chances are I won't be, because A, I'm unfit, and B, I've got no hand-eye
Yeah, but you've got a
coordination.
potentially damaged ankle.
If
It
well, if
qualifies
it is
you.
damaged, it's not potentially. I can get the X-rays
So you qualify.
sorted. Yeah. So
But we are mad passionate fans of wheelchair rugby league. Looking forward to the golden boot stroke wheel being, and that's their words, not ours.
yeah, I'm not being facetious there. That's,
Being a point, I think was it
It's
31st of January?
yes,
That's
next
announced?
Friday. It's all
Brilliant. It brings it in line with the men's and women's competition. Fantastic. No, we're big fans, and nothing to do with the fact that currently Leeds are
well, Leeds have won everything, yeah, because Leeds are good
the
again.
dominant team.
This is in the
Nothing to do with
it's
that.
in the amateur news section. I think this should have its own right somewhere else in the paper, to be honest.
It's not amateur because they're being paid to play in the World Cup.
The Wheel of Steel was I'm calling it. And the wheelchair Golden Boot Award. There are 8 contenders. See if I can get everyone's names right. Probably not. Jack Brown got that one. Nathan Collins, James Simpson, Scotland, All England.
James Buckingham Palace Simpson
Yes.
is now.
Gilles Clauzel
Good player.
and Kevin Pastor, France. Kevin Pastor.
Gilles scored a lot of the points when France won the last World Cup.
Corey Kinane of Australia, Jay Anderson of Scotland and Stuart Williams of Wales have all been shortlisted. Nigel Wood, you remember him? The IRL's
Is he
chief
playing?
executive said, "We are delighted to announce the addition of a
big
third Golden Boot for Rugby League. We are keen to recognise the rapid progress of wheelchair rugby league over recent times and the outstanding skill, athleticism and courage of those involved. Do we need to put the word courage in there? Because it seems it's a bit of a, oh, look at them doing well out there in the wheelchairs kind of thing. But it's not about that. It is without a doubt one of the greatest undiscovered aspects of rugby league.
It's not undiscovered. We're talking about it.
We are now.
It's got a World Cup.
So the people who accuse us of not talking about these things, well, we're talking about it now. The award of the Golden Boot will attract more eyeballs to this magnificent version of rugby league, and that can only be welcomed.
Eyeballs is becoming the new stakeholders.
Eyeballs. There's some other awards as well. Player of the Year, which is not the same as being the World
England
Champion.
players are getting their heritage certificates.
Young Player of the Year, Club of the Year, Team of the Year, Coach of the Year, and Match Official of the Year. Nominations not announced. Refs in it. So that's a week on Friday at Emerald Headingley Stadium, the home of everything.
Are you going?
Possibly. And we're looking forward to the World Cup. I will make sure I get to a game during the World Cup. I don't know which one I'll go to. Probably Sheffield, because it's easier for me to get to the Copper Box. But I would like to go to the Copper Box, because when I went to the Paralympics in 2012, I didn't actually go into the Copper Box. I got to see tennis, I got to see wheelchair rugby, which is nothing like rugby, and athletics, but I didn't see any of the action in the Copper Box, sadly. Martin, any team that are promoted should not get relegated the following year. Oh, that's a bit unfair by Tim there. Comes to that in a minute. Ban Tim for the show. I mean, programmes for teams promoted should be given grace from relegation because they don't have enough time to build a squad.
I think that is an
It's a
argument
theory.
that's been had before, and there is some merit in it. But to me, it's a bigger issue. What do you want from allowing a new market into your sport? Do you want that new market to be successful? Are you prepared to sacrifice it after the shortest possible amount of time? Because it should solely be about competitiveness on the field. My worry for Toronto is that for whatever reason, the current restrictions on getting players to play for them means that they only have 23 players. And you look at Hull KR at the moment, who've suffered 3 massive injuries in pre-season. They have recruited 20 players over the off-season, so yes, it's going to have a massive effect losing those 3 high-profile signings, but they can in some ways begin to cover for it. Toronto at the moment, if they got 3 injuries to 3 high-profile players, they'd be struggling to know. We've got to name a 21-man squad this year.
Yeah.
They're down to 20. So, but it's more about what do you want. It's not, forget the names Toronto, forget it. Do you want Super League to be successful in the North American market? Do you have to make some concessions for them to be successful? They're saying you do. I wouldn't doubt that for a moment. And so they have to be the first club to say this. You're talking about Brian McDermott, who is becoming one of the most media savvy coaches that we've got out there, because he knows exactly what to say and when to say it to get maximum exposure. I think he's coached at London, where London had a dispensation. Do we want young Canadian talent at some point to eventually come through? If the answer to that is yes, then there might be dispensations to get that talent. At the moment, again, you can read a little bit about it in the new issue of Forty20 magazine, in Brian Noble's column, plastered all over this very boutique. They're trying to re-sign Quinn Naguati, who is the young player who they originally had on their books when they were in League One, who is the most talented young Canadian rugby player. He's equally at home in rugby league or rugby union. Currently now still playing rugby union at junior levels for Canada, but he's also working in the aerospace industry. He's got a
Proper job.
progressive job. The Wolfpack want to re-sign him because they know that their squad is light. He might not be the answer to be playing every week. He may not be at that level, but they want to bring him in and make him a full-time professional, have him around people like Sonny Bill and John Wilkin, and if necessary, include him on certain match days when they will inevitably have injuries. At the moment, they can't get him under the salary cap, and the difference in having him and not having him, you would not believe how negligible it is. It's basically a petty cash receipt for a high-ranking official. Is that what we want? Do we want to exclude somebody like him who in terms of being part of the Wolfpack setup, actually not only gives them great PR value, but is the first step on a potential pathway to Canadian players playing for Toronto, which is apparently what we all want. So we want it, but we don't want to facilitate it happen.
And he asked what's the crossword. Oh, a crossword in the 4020.
Now, there was a big quiz over Christmas, if you haven't done it.
2 down, Stevie Ward. 3 across, Ronda Outlaws, apparently. Yeah, do a crossword, Andy, design a crossword and get put in the magazine. Might check.
Yeah, do one. Send it in. We'll look at publishing it.
Puzzle, 4020 puzzle page. Coming soon. If Super League really wants Toronto, they can do a Catalans and ring fence them for relegation, but I fear Super League don't really want them. Well, they want Sonny Bill Williams because he's famous.
Absolutely. One of the big stories this sort of autumn winter time has not been through Super League. It's been through a club in Super League signing a superstar player. Do we not want more of that? Do we not want more backers in the game?
Oh, in Farrell.
I mean, that's the other thing. Do we want investors? Now, I know somebody's going to say, they don't pay the bills, it's not an investor if you don't. But David Argyle clearly is a man of money who knows more people with money. And if we make the passage such that other investors who may have gone to rugby union might now be tempted perhaps to come to rugby league, they go, don't want to be involved with what happened at Saracens, I didn't realise it was all under the counter payments. And
because rugby union hasn't got a history of that.
If I'm going to make a loss, I might as well make a loss buying people like Sonny Bill Williams. Then we want to be encouraging that as a sport. There's a benefit to every club to Sonny Bill playing. Yesterday, all of the excitement around that game at Castleford was was he going to be there? Has he gone home to have a birthday? And then when he was there, who's going to take the first picture of him? Who's going to have a selfie with him? Who's going to get the interview with him? He wasn't even playing, and he was the story.
Here's John. Sorry, but it's great you have Sonny Bill in, but the pay packet only suits Toronto. Come on, lads, all that money for one player. Sorry, no privilege, not for super pay packets for one man.
He's not on that huge amount of money.
Is he not?
No.
I've heard the figure, but I
don't believe some of the reported figures. He won't be being paid that much more than Gareth Widdop and James Maloney. He will get top-ups through having shares in potential television programmes and club ownership, but in terms of what he's actually being paid, not that much. Yes, for you and me, a lot, but not earth-shattering. It was the right piece of business at the right time in his career with the right challenge attached to it. A lot of things aligned to get him to sign and to want to come, and it wasn't solely about here's a blank cheque, fill in the amount that you would be keen to earn.
There's no doubt Sandy will point out though, and she's right to an extent. The people in Toronto don't care that their basketball team has no Canadians.
No, absolutely.
So why do we care that there's no Canadians?
Well, we don't.
There?
I think the
well,
fact
we don't,
is, if we understand their market, which we, I think we don't have enough appreciation of what works in American sports, and the fact that 11 or 12,000 people are already turning up to watch a sport they don't fully appreciate and understand. Players they don't, they don't actually know these players yet. They've only been going for 2 minutes, but they want to support them. Well, imagine that when Sonny Bill makes his debut in Toronto, there's going to be a real buzz about that and around the media, and he's already sending messages saying, I can't wait to get out there because I've heard, the crowd's a bit mental, and that's brilliant.
Andy says we missed an open goal by not inviting Canada to the men's World Cup.
Well, but they didn't qualify. They had an opportunity, and we have the story of Jamaica, and with the greatest respect to Canada at the moment, Jamaica's a brilliant story, and we need to capitalise on that. The next thing will be the marrying up of the host cities, thank you Brian, with the nations now that they know the draw. And I think they're going to do that really cleverly as well. The World Cup organising committee, they're going to make sure that they get maximum impact, and wherever they decide to sign to Jamaica, then there'll be a legacy aspect to that. It's the same with Lebanon, it's the same with Italy and Greece, and I think that they'll put them near expat centres of population, and that's how they'll get the 750,000 there. That if Greece are training, let's say in North London, because there's a big Greek community there, the ouzo is flowing, then that's what they'll do, and we need to do the same with Toronto. We need to take star names over there. It doesn't matter that they're not Canadian natives, and get the buzz around, oh, we need to go and see them play. And if you need a dispensation to get those names, would we all really object as fans if Toronto announced this week they've signed Owen Farrell?
Yeah, because he hasn't signed for their club.
No, what we should be saying is that is a bloody nose for another sport. It's a real high profile sign. It's going to guarantee more press inches, more photographic opportunities. There's going to be the excitement around him coming back to his first love, because that was the sport he grew up with. All of that, even if it's only for a year while the whole Saracen things get sorted out, and then another rugby union comes in and a club offers him 12 times the amount of money. We need to be brave and bold and allow our clubs to do that. And if that means giving them a dispensation to do it, then let's do it for the good of the competition.
Owen Farrell, then, he is Louise in the song Louise by the Human League. And Rugby League is Phil Oakey in the song Louise by the Human League. It's one for the teenagers there.
We have seen in the attendances at testimonial games this weekend that we need to work as hard as possible to get even our fans to games. Now, if you have Owen Farrell playing for Toronto at Wigan, that will guarantee neutral fans who might not go to, or pick and choose their games, to say that's one I need to be at.
Yeah. There was never any this plus one way if you signed Paul Sampson in the year 2000.
There you go.
Where's all there? In the year 2000.
But I bet there was an uptake of interest when he made his debut.
No, because we're all excited about signing Steve McNamara instead. In the year 2000...
Have you asked to speak to him on Friday?
I have, yeah.
Are you going to remind him of that?
Well, I might do, because I discovered this week on eBay that they released in the year 2000 a series of 20 or 30 CD-ROM profiles of rugby league players. Of players in Super League. The good people at Midas, so I don't know if they're still going on. They released a rugby league coach game which was dreadful. One of the worst games that have been made. And they released these profiles of these players, and I serendipitously found one on eBay, and it was Steve McNamara in the Wakefield away kit. I've not got it to work yet, but there were like a couple, well, there was only a couple of Wakefield players, one Steve McNamara and two Bobby Golding. I probably paid more for the CD-ROM than they got paid by Wakefield that season. No, it was only £1. So, maybe so. So yeah, we all came to watch Bobby Golding, not Paul Sampson. But yeah, where are our CD-ROM collectors' cards now? What are they doing to get the kids involved? Where are they?
Well, I remember the police giving out such cards at Edinburgh. You weren't going to not take one. No. The local Bobby came, would you like a card of John Bentley? Yes, please.
Get some sticker books. And I know we've got no budget compared to Premier League football, but pretty much every football match you go to at the moment, they're giving out sticker books to everyone. It's a poster. Well, I haven't got a poster. On Friday.
Maybe we'll get one on Friday.
Well,
sticker book.
On Friday.
Do you think there'll be any stand?
I hope so. I think that's why half the people are going there, including somebody who's just watching. I know you're getting that hot. You know, they do all the...
Get me out.
They do all the photo... Yeah, so he says, get me some stuff. No stuff. Got a card I drew the teams on. At the World Cup. You
did it in different colours.
I did do it in different colours, because I wanted to make it exciting for the viewer, even though they could already see it on the official World Cup Twitter. On Friday, when we go to the launch, the first hour or so is spent with the players having their photographs taken by many various people on the pitch and in various formations. the photograph of all the captains, they should make that into a poster and give it out to the kids. Because the kids like posters. They still like putting posters on their wall.
Mm-hmm.
We must have a deal with a print firm who could knock up a load of posters. It's hide the bet for a bit, because you can't do that for the kids. But and all the
Good profit announced by Betfred.
It's been a good week for bookmakers. I was reading the Racing Post. It was a very good week. Good for my other job. So let's have a poster of all the captains or something. That beef on the bone thing.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Let's give something out to the kids from when they go to a game. See it all the
Which
time.
again doesn't cost a lot to produce.
See all the time in America. No one produces programs anymore, so it doesn't matter. See all the time in America. At the baseball, they've got like 90 home games to sell a season, so they've got to do something. They'll have various games where they have giveaways. Now we don't have that many games to do that, but say like first 1,000 people get a poster. We've got a very good chance you're going to get a poster of all your favourite player. I don't know. Kids might like it. Stick it on the wall. Get them signed. Here's 1,000 posters. One of them signed by all the captains. Or Sonny Bill Williams.
Will he be there? Or will he
Well,
be back for the birth of his fourth child?
He might be there, I don't know. I'm sure if he was going to be there, that he would be the most requested person by the media to speak to. So I would put on the list I'm not going to speak to him, but Mark might want to speak to him because he's that top sport, aren't we? We're doing the rugby again this year, so that's
All
good.
talk sport, aren't we?
20 years old last week.
20 years
And
old.
as I said on social
And
media,
still Alan Brazil can't get a full sentence.
as I said on social media this week, people who criticise their cricket coverage, and I'm not saying this because I work for them, because I barely am on the station, they're just doing it out of snobbery. Because they don't, or they're not talking about cake enough like the other lot. I don't know. Thank you for all the
So
people.
we'll
like
probably do our predictions next week when
Yes.
we have the chance to go to the launch.
cogitate and whatever else Lloyd Gross
Having
used
said
to
that,
say.
they are of course in the competition.
Yes.
Force.
Yeah. Because, we're not happy. Ninth. Come on now. Sorry. Who's written these things?
Where couldn't possibly comment. Where do you think Wakefield will? No, I mean we'll save that for next week.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I
The
don't,
piece
I
that
don't, I don't know if I can answer that question.
the piece that no, I don't think you're allowed. The piece that introduces where we think the prediction will end up basically says, unless there is a bolter, which Salford were last year,
Yes.
we actually sort of do know where everybody's going to finish. We may not know the order they're going to finish in, but even Saints, I know they were playing London, and with the greatest respect, London are now in a division below them. Pretty dominant again yesterday. They're not going to be any worse. They're starting effectively with a 16-point advantage over everybody else because that's how far ahead they were. It's theirs to drop from that pedestal. Who do we see reaching them on that pedestal? Well, we'll discuss that in greater detail, hopefully with Mark, and get a Skype, like let's go, get a Skype, what's Skype? Do we take encouragement from the fact that James Maloney was mentioned in dispatches for Catalan? Is he going to be the answer? Do Warrington start getting upset that Gareth Wood isn't going to play for at least the first 4 weeks of the season? Leeds will be without Cruz Leeming for first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. Or do we read nothing into this time of year? Apart from Hulkar, just seem to have no luck.
No, they might be the team this year who has to really bad luck with injuries, might they? Wakefield had it last year. Looks like Hulkar this year at the moment. You can also make the opposite thing where the likes of Dean Hadley and Haraki coming back later in the season might be a boost to them because they'll be almost like new signings or whatever, but that's just spinning it, isn't it? Because everyone wants their full first 13 ready for game one. Sandy, you've used a bad example here. In 2001, Arsenal had one British player in their team. Did Arsenal fans or anyone complain about it? Did people call Arsenal a foreign team? They did. That's the wrong example to go down. But then there's nobody in Premier League football who's got any English players anyway. They're all foreign. Look at Chelsea. But there you go. Sheila's talking, what happened to the darts? Was that Lakeside? Because it's too complicated. But as I've said before on this programme, we have to make sure we don't come to BDO.
But then again, the two stories in the darts, and forgive me because I am not, and this is where we need Mark here, who clearly is an expert.
I
on
said,
that.
John says we're going to be cowards if we're not giving our predictions before the legend. Speaking of throwing darts in a ball.
The thing about the legend is he'll change his anyway.
It's already up there. He did it last year. He did a video on the graphics and the badges all move up and down.
Huddersfield are going to get relegated.
And now they've signed Caesar. Caesar Geezer.
I don't follow the darts religiously. We will watch it in our house when it's on, and it's an exciting game. But the two big stories seem to be women. You know, Fallon Sharrock at the proper darts, and Lisa Ashton.
She won her tour card yesterday.
Yes. Tour card. Now, again, that's just giving the sport a different dimension to a new audience. That relates directly back to Sonny Bill and what do you want out of the Wolfpack? If they're in there, what do you want out of them? If you didn't want to let them in there in the first place, then you shouldn't have accepted their application 3 years ago. But there was always a chance.
And that was
they
the
were going
RFL,
to end up
not
in
Super
Super
League.
League.
Oh, mind you, at that point they were all one, weren't they?
Yeah, so if you're going to take them on, if you're going to bring them in, if they're going to bring star names to the competition, then to people who only take a passing interest, you're gaining extra traction. If he is at the launch on Friday, I don't know if he was mentioned that the launch is on Friday yet, enough. I guarantee he will be live on Sky Sports from the launch.
Be live everywhere, I would assume.
Which other rugby league player at the moment would have that pull? Sadly, none. You know, Tommy Makes was the Golden Boot. You couldn't get an interview.
He speaks really well, doesn't he, as well? He spoke to him on Thursday.
He was brilliant.
I think I got meant to get him before Sky as well, which I didn't mean to do. I did it accidentally. He was just standing around, so I recognised him. I wanted to speak to him. Actually, it was a good event on Thursday from a media perspective because there wasn't everyone there. It wasn't a busy room, so it was easier to get hold of everyone you needed. But still, we were there, the last people there, because we're always the last people.
Well, I think we found the sandwiches quite late.
Yeah. Gary the Viking, he was asked about what do you think of the Champion Game's been on our league, but we'll come to that in a minute. He's bottom four. Well, he's got 5 in there, so that's good. Hull KR, Leeds, Toronto, Salford and Wakefield. Hopefully not in that order, Gary. I like witness. Bottom 5 for him. What do you think about Champions Games in our league? Good. Having the time slot, regular time slot, is obviously a very clever idea to say to people, look, there's an audience for
You've got to build
games on a Sunday at 6:15.
Yeah.
And if people don't like it, well, you wanted more coverage of your teams, so it's tough. Can't be picky, I'm afraid.
I think, again, we have to look at what we want out of the Championship. I think we need to be realistic that for some reason the indications at this stage are that Sky will not be covering the Blackpool Bash this year. They are covering the playoffs.
Any further shocking news, I probably won't be on it. We might as well close it down now.
They are covering the playoffs because one of those teams will end up in Super League, so there's a continuity for next season. So they covered the playoffs last year, most of them, not every game. They're going to do every game this year. But I think we need to be realistic about finding a way of giving the Championship some kind of identity. And maybe not comparing it to Super League and expecting it to have the same coverage as Super League. It's a more open competition this year because clearly there isn't a front runner like Toronto. And I think it'll be a more equitable competition than it's been for the last couple of years, where the disparity between those at the top and those at the bottom have been pretty enormous. I think some of the clubs that are coming up and those that, like Swinton, who ended the season strongly last year, will mean that there are more competitive games. It's a big test for clubs like York because they were fantastic last year.
Second season syndrome.
Well, not necessarily. I think they've got a great coach and they've signed some really good players. But it will be interesting to see. Again, nobody will underestimate them this year. Sheffield won a cup last year. Will they be able to transfer that into their league? I think there's a lot of really good stories in the Championship, but the danger will be that people keep saying it has to have the same profile as Super League because it's not going to get it.
Dave says, what on earth has happened to this programme pre-season? Were you?
What's happened to it?
Yeah, I think it's because there's less people here these days. They'll be back. They'll be back. Don't panic.
We're testing out combinations.
Yeah.
This one's going far.
We'll be back. You don't have to watch it. Tim, who's going to get promoted from the Championship this year? I thought I'd read 4020 magazine because they've got a comprehensive preview of the Championship written by someone who's involved in it, so knows more about it than I do. So, without wanting to upset people, obviously I should say Featherstone, shouldn't I, or something. Lee have signed some very good players, haven't they?
The thing
But they've
is,
signed a lot of players.
what we don't know as well is how
Anything.
the reserve situation,
Dual
which
reg-
impacts
yes.
on dual reg and loan, is going to affect the Championship. But it clearly is, and until those waters are slightly more smooth and the season starts, we genuinely don't know some of the players who are going to be playing in the Championship.
And we don't, do we know London are London playing in the 1895 in this
No.
no. No. There you go. Well, there's the answer. Playing less games. London.
Well, I think Toulouse will start as logical favourites because I think they've kept the bulk of their squad together. Featherstone had a brilliant run last year and ended Toulouse's bid for losing to Toronto in the main game. But again, Featherstone at the moment, although they've signed a couple of very good players, they're in a state of flux about knowing exactly
Yes.
who's going to be playing for them on a week-to-week basis. So I think Lee will be up there. London will have the experience of playing at a higher level of rugby, but have lost about half of their team. But I've got a coach that is obviously stuck with them and did such a fantastic job the last time he was in the Championship, knows how to get the best out of players, whether they're names or not. It'll be intriguing, and there will be a bolter in there somewhere. I don't know who, you know, Bradford at the moment, you look at their roster and there's a lot of reliance on some young players, but they're going to fill in the numbers that they didn't give shirts to with players on loan and dual reg now with Hull. So there's still a lot that we don't know about the Championship. But Toulouse, certainly in the first half against Castellan, in a pre-season game that you don't read anything into, looked well structured.
No one wants any dispensation for Toronto on social media. So there you go.
Fine.
Johnson waiting for our predictions for Super League. I said Wigan were going to win it last year, so I was thinking Wigan, but I'm probably going to be wrong. Everyone seems to be questioning how the Enigma will fit into their machine. And it's,
Well, he made his debut yesterday and set up the first try.
that'd be all right.
What the impression you got watching live is that at the moment he isn't fully fit. He looks like a guy who's only been with them for a couple of weeks, and that's exactly how it should be. So, which is again why you cannot read too much into pre-season friendly form or results. It's about getting minutes into legs. But the interesting thing I think with Jackson Hastings, albeit Salford, he clearly was very quickly the kingpin. Whatever he said went. Whatever he wanted to do around structuring that team, getting it to play the way he wanted to play, getting his hands on the ball when he wanted it and needed it, it all revolved around him. That I don't think is going to be the case at Wigan. I think it's going to be a different team dynamic, and there were a couple of times yesterday where he was clearly moving to the left and calling for the ball, and it might have been a ruse to put the defence off, but the ball was always going right to Tommy Luluai or to Sam Powell. So he's not going to be the dominant player. He's going to be a very important player for them, but he's going to have to change his game a little bit from how he was last year. That's going to be interesting, how long it takes, and can he adapt to that kind of a team for them?
When you're the man of steel going into a team who are regularly challenging for championships as opposed to a team at the bottom end who, as you say, had...
Well, I think you hit on a very good point there. At Salford last year, it was
There's
a
no
journey
pressure there,
that
is
the
there?
longer
There's no
it
pressure.
went, the more exciting it got, but there was no expectation. And had it ended in the first round of the playoffs, they'd still overachieved. In many's mind, who'd had them down fighting relegation. At Wigan, the minute he steps on that field in a key pivotal position, there is that expectation to perform, and that's a different pressure on.
2020, as we know, is Warrington's year. Sheila says, if Wire start bad, the fans are going to get on Steve Price's back early on after the end to last season. Chance to hold.
Same thing happened with Hull last year. That weren't they coming off 11 straight defeats, and Lee Radford was the coach under most pressure.
He was.
Going into the start.
I believe he is still again
last
according to
season.
the bookmakers, but again, I don't know.
But you know they rectified that pretty early into the season, and whilst they were still very inconsistent, and you would say perhaps underachieved, I expected more from Hull coming to the back end of the season. They turned that around pretty quick. Warrington only need to win their first 4 games, and there's no pressure at all.
People getting around the salary.
But the thing is, well, you know, if Steve Price, if Lee Radford, if whoever's under pressure, who's going to be brought in?
Sean Wade.
Oh,
But I said that 12 months ago, and he's still.
I had to smile. The idea for our lovely audience out
You
there
have to smile.
who might not know, every club has its own press day before the main Super League
Yes.
media day. Now, I would have thought that on a club press day, talking to the players, the coaching staff, the new signings is the go-to. Get all that copy either filed straight away or stored for the beginning. So I did laugh when. I smiled politely to myself, as if with wind, when Ian Lenigan took over the Wigan Media Day and made the pronouncement, amongst others, but the one that got reported more than most, was that he favoured the sacking of Wayne Bennett and the bringing in of an English coach, and he named the very gentleman he had sacked.
How can you sack Wayne Bennett?
Not
His contract
sacked.
expires.
I'm sure Sean Wayne was not sacked. He left, but didn't have his contract renewed, or didn't want his contract renewed. But yeah, I thought England and that province came under the RFL and not Super League's jurisdiction.
Maybe we could set up like a Super League England, like in 1997. They have their own special kit.
Yeah, the big
With
logo.
Big S,
on the front.
yeah, Big S, and play against the Super League. Oh, I can't tell me that's when the official Super League launches. Well, it's Friday. You can't go. It's media. Beyond Sky Sports News.
I suspect the video that has been made, which you're all being told is very, very good, will actually be unveiled on Friday.
Yes.
You might actually see it
And we'll all-
on a
yeah.
broadcast partner from Friday.
And we'll all go.
And then we'll go, that's great, and the first game will be the third following Thursday.
We'll all go. Oh, video. Oh, it's not as good as the people.
It'll be good.
Oh, Jeremy Gilby's working. Okay. Haven't seen the video they've done of the Rob Burrows thing last week, and knowing that they've done the videos last year, why have we seen none of the other videos?
There's
It's all
loads
right.
of behind the scenes stuff to come out, but it's almost dated now.
All the wrong kits, the wrong sponsors, plays in the wrong places. Everything has to be instant. When we go to these things, these press days, we get the videos up within a couple of days. I don't want to put them all out at once, because that's just bombarding people with stuff, but put them out.
We all have the attention spans of gnats these days, so you've got to get stuff out instantly. Headline stuff, in the faces
Yeah.
of people.
I'm sure.
Cleverly. Ricky Gervais, 49 seconds.
Is he going to be on the video?
No, but I mean, that was his...
Oh, yeah,
The whole video lasted less than a minute and had the most ridiculous impact. That's what you got to do these days. Apparently Stevie Wood is now going to play a game in his garden.
That'd be good. Captain of Leeds Rhinos.
Knocking on his window going, I'm here with me, shake ball. I want to run around.
The video last year was interesting. But it was interesting because everyone hyped it up as this is going to be, oh, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. And then it was a bit,
If you didn't know the names of the people, you still wouldn't have known them afterwards.
it was just all a bit, I know what you're doing. And it's good and all that. But it's not. I don't want to go at Super League now you've shown me someone getting up. I don't know.
It's a good time to be positive and strike while our iron is hot,
Yes.
and if
So
necessary,
Terry will be on it.
try and take down another sport, a rival sport.
Obviously what Saracens
Which it is. I don't agree that rugby union is a rival sport, by the way, but
what Saracens did wrong, of course, was not pay their players' wives to clean the Allianz Stadium.
I think there is a huge level of arrogance in what they've done, and we should capitalise on that.
It's a very odd story that Toronto might not be playing St Helens there. And I don't why? Because the stories in the paper don't explain why. Just they might not play there. Well, there's got to be a reason. It's an artificial surface there, so it's not as if they're redoing the
In some respects, it would be a good time to play them, because if we can put up a really outstanding product and their fans don't want to watch second tier rugby next year, you could all become rugby league fans instead.
Good old Sarries. Someone said we should offer them a place in Super League. No one has cheats, is it?
We don't really cheats.
No. They'll be rubbish anyway because they've got like no rugby league place. They'll be trying to do line-outs and stuff, all of the things. I see they invented a, was it a 50-22 kick or something?
Yeah.
Or they wanted to bring it in. It's like, we started this salary cap cheating, now they've copied off us. It's the ultimate in respect from the other kind. But as you always say on this programme, people get upset and go, oh, blah, blah. People don't care about Leicester the same way they don't care about Leeds, or Wigan, or Saracens, or Harlequins, or London. They don't care. They just like what they watch the Six Nations. It's on the telly, it's hyped, and they can have a beer. But they're not that bothered.
No.
Because otherwise they go all the time. They don't go all the time. They're not interested in the Heineken Cup or whatever. They enjoy the Saracens fan on the telly though yesterday. This is well Brexit, saying that the reason why they had to break the salary cap was to keep up with the money bags French. And of course, English teams have won the Heineken Cup more than French teams. But you know, there's no logic these days. You don't have to have any logic. Sheila says we should throw some money into Cumbria. At least they've got homegrown talent. 1,400 people watched the derby there yesterday, which is probably the bigger crowd of the during the season. Over Cumbria again. I don't know. Bring back Carlisle. I don't know what we can do. I don't know what we can do with Cumbria until where's the Cumbrian Lakers?
Oh, yes, looking forward to that. Are they
Playing
playing
Liverpool
this
City,
week?
yeah. Liverpool City. They're on the list of 13 teams that don't exist anymore. I should have put PSG in there as well. John Dutton has a very good vision, along with his partner, says Toby. Would be a good addition in either of the governing bodies. But we have too much red tape in either of the governing bodies. He's got it.
But if he's got the vision, who is he working with that has the awareness?
It's true. He's almost got a blank piece of paper at the World Cup, and having obviously run the World Cup in 2013, the experience to back it up and not make the mistakes they made then. Or
I think what they've got is a very astute front man, but a really progressive board behind them as well. We kept being told that they were brave and bold, and they have been.
Brave and bold. That was the strapline, wasn't it? Brave and bold. What's the Super League strapline going to be this year? What are we going to be? What is the what?
Not
Robert
too,
Elson
it's
stands,
going to be not too different to last year. Hashtag.
When Robert Elson stands in front of us on Friday and does his speech. I wonder who the because last year we had Josh Warrington, we had Stuart Pearce, and some rugby league people. I can't remember because there's rugby league people, see them all the time, so I can't remember who they were. So I wonder who the non-rugby league people, but giving us the rub kind of thing will be this year, or whether they'll go down that route.
Sir Alex Ferguson.
Fergie loves his rugby league.
Roy Keane.
He loves his rugby.
If you don't watch rugby league, I'll punch you. Gareth Southgate. I went to a game.
He's like the Kevin Sinfield of rugby league. We spoke to Kev. I saw Kev.
He was good.
It's on the YouTube and the Facebook. Talking about his the England draws. He's obviously heading the England performance in all of England.
And he's put in the report about whether Wayne Bennett should keep the job, but it's now down to the RSL board.
They're colouring it in as we speak. See what they
joining the dots.
February we're going to find out.
See what the picture comes out as.
It's not Wayne Bennett. It's like the start of Doctor Who, where the Doctor's picture comes up on screen. It's not going to be Wayne Bennett, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be good because if it was Wayne Bennett, everyone would get annoyed that it was Wayne Bennett, and that would give Scotty when Bennett's in charge. Oh, that'll be the whole programme.
Rubbish. Malcolm Brady should be the king.
Well, we are there any players from the 1970 squad who are alive who can take over? Because obviously they're the most successful
Johnny Whiteley.
team ever. He's in the Hall of Fame as well. They're all going to get medals at the Lions dinner coming up soon.
Saturday.
There was a press release this morning, but I was half asleep when I read it. So I was watching the NFL.
They haven't found the medals. They've realised that they were never awarded any.
Right.
And lost in the midst of time, I think, was Ralph's phrase. And all of those who are still with us, and some relatives of those who aren't, are going to get medals as we celebrate it being 50 years since we were last any good.
But congratulations. It will be a privilege and an honour for me to present commemorative medals, said Ralph, digging out his tweed suit, to give to the great Johnny Whiteley and the other Lions legends in attendance. And of course, to the family, I'm reading this in his voice back out as well. To the family members of some of the greatest players our game has known. Tell you what, say what you're on about Ralph Rimmer, but he gives more time to people than he should. Their achievements on that 1970 Great Britain tour were extraordinary, will never be surpassed. Why not? I know they played in 7 million games in those days and they went by warship. But you know.
Well, not in 1970,
well,
they did get on a plane.
Went on the HMS Indomitable and I get confused with all these tours. They could be surpassed. We could win a tour. We could win a match in Australia. We could beat Papua New Guinea.
Well, even in 1970, we came from behind to win the series. We lost the first test, so we could do a whitewash over there.
The reasons why medals weren't awarded back in 1970 are lost in the mist of time, said John Lynch. A, probably someone lost them, like the World Cup. Or B, like maybe they're in the same draw with the RFL with the Women's League Leaders Shield medals. They weren't supposed to get them. There weren't any medals. They always get medals after every test series in the 70s or previous. I'm probably guessing the answer is probably not. It's just a modern thing where you've won the basketball shield and a medal.
It's a chance to quite rightly commemorate.
Oh, of course. So there you go. Some positive news, and there they are. Great Britain in their official kit, which you probably buy these days for 60 quid or whatever it is. Which is exciting. But there you go. Yeah, Betfred made a profit, and Ladbrokes made a profit. So that's good news for our sponsors. So
How long before? I mean, you know the betting industry because you are
that's how I earn my money.
an aficionado in it. But there seems to be a move against betting companies in the same way there was against cigarette companies in the 80s. Should we be worried that our principal partners may well have restrictions put on them that in the future negate them sponsoring sporting events?
I'd like to hope, but people have different opinions on it. It's as with everything, it's a motive subject, and it's where you stand on that subject. I don't think I can have an opinion. Well, I do have an opinion, but you know.
It's interesting though that we were absolutely beholden to cigarette companies. Everything we had was sponsored by Regal, Silk.
I think the problem is.
I think there is a circle now saying, oh, there's some issues affecting betting, and we need to be more aware as a society of some of those things. Therefore, we will stop betting companies.
This is with no hat on whatsoever.
And I just wonder whether we need to start looking for other avenues of commercial,
here's the
cannabis.
Well, here's the problem, and the same goes for every other sport, and it's beholden to the same group of sponsors.
Which is every sport.
Darts, snooker, football to an extent.
Football, well, look at all the
Outside the
shirts
Premier
that are
League,
sponsored by.
There isn't another group, is there now? There isn't another, because everything else is banned. So
you can't have alcohol, you can't have cigarettes, you can't have betting.
you would assume that those who are in government would be well aware of the financial impact on sport.
Vegan sausage rolls.
Yeah, I think it would cause. Would it cause more problems if you did? Yes, because there would be. There's nothing to replace them. There was nothing to replace cigs until they opened up allowing advertising for gambling, didn't they? So I don't know.
Banks and services. They're not doing as well as they once were.
Where's their Nutrigrain?
Rothschild Super.
Bring back Nutrigrain.
Nimble Super League.
Tim says he'd like to see a pre-season video that shines light on rugby league culture to outsiders, not just players and celebs, club rivalries and the fans, large number of women fans, shows how much it means to people, to communities. But I think that sells it to... What does that sell it... Who does that sell it to?
I think you've got to have action. Action's got to be front and centre.
You've got to see Tom Johnston doing the Tom Johnston tries and people bashing each other.
The Channel 9 video that came out today is again about a minute long, and it's one piece of action after another, and all that changes are the eras that it's, and it integrates them, and at the end of it you just go, can I see some of this? Where do I go to see some of this? And who are these people? And I want to know more, and can't wait for the season to start. So I think it's got to be action led.
Because who are we selling it to? Who do we want to sell things to? People, you know, the general public at large see, oh look, it's great for communities. That doesn't sell you watching the game, does it? All these people.
I think you sell that to your sponsors behind the scenes, your solicitors and whoever that want some kind of corporate social responsibility these days. We're the sport you want to invest in because we can get into disadvantaged communities. But I think to get fans either subscribing to broadcasters or into grounds, what you have to do is say, you will not see a better piece of finishing than Tom Johnson or Tommy Makinson leaping over 6 people and getting a ball down one-handed before crashing into the advertising audience. That's what we're about as a sport. Or here's somebody getting legally smashed on a field. You can't see that anywhere other than rugby league.
Sean says Viagra could sponsor Super League, so
we'll keep it up.
Yeah, so I'm surprised Toronto haven't set up that as alongside their cannabis oil thing.
Well, that market is rapidly expanding, and again, we need to be at the forefront of stuff.
The Shield or ashtray should be changed for a cup and named after Rob Burrow, one great player in the Superman, says John. I'm not.
I don't think you'd have too many people disagreeing with something like that.
The problem we've got with naming things is eventually you're running out of things to name things after.
Yeah, I think this is a.
But this is not one of those.
Being set here that
yes.
This is somebody who's archetypal of an era and has suffered a misfortune that we want to remember. His name, his contribution, time immemorial. Plus, he embodies everything that said it before and written about it. If Rob Burrow had been solely associated with one team, he would not have had the love, affection, and the amount of money donated to him.
And everyone hates Leeds.
Absolutely. But the fact is, he embodies this spirit of David against Goliath. The underdog always trying to triumph or being written off and told that you can't do stuff when actually you're proving people wrong. That's at the very core of sport, not just rugby league. And I think Rob embodies that more than anybody in the summer era, and that's why there's been such an outpouring of love and affection for him.
It's strange in the olden days they named the Man of the Match awards of our 2 showpiece events over not players.
Administrators. Got to get away from that. It's got to be about the players.
Can you rename those things now? Or are they too far down the line to rename them?
Probably not. I don't think you should rename anything that's got history attached to it. I think you can name something that's not been named before. So the 1895 Cup.
That's the very French medal thing. Yeah.
The League Leader Shield doesn't have anybody attached to it, and if you want to give it kudos, then name it after somebody. And it's exactly the same with the Super League trophy. It's not, it's named at the moment after a sponsor, but if it was the so-and-so sponsor's name trophy,
the Super League trophy. It's called the Super League trophy.
Get a proper trophy as well, not a filled-in flower vase.
I used to go with that. It's easy to make though, because not that people make tin foil challenge cups anymore. You can easily make the tin foil Super League trophy out of just some old cardboard boxes, glue rolls and stuff, stick them all together. Don't know if you can get past security at Old Trafford. Yeah, I mean after that fake bomb there at Old Trafford that had that game cancelled, I don't know if you're getting the pretend Super League trophy. Maybe that's what they should do at Warrington, make their own Super League trophy. Award it to themselves. Tim says you can intercut action with rugby league culture. That gets forgotten. It's a people's game. It depends what we're selling to. If we're selling people to say watch this sport, or it is some people having a Cup of Bovril and it's 3 generations of a family, ain't going to cut it.
I think, again, without wishing to go on about there's a new 4020, one of the features in there is about how basketball was turned around by a commissioner who had a marketing vision for the sport. What he didn't do consciously was in any way change the sport. That was the game was at the heart of everything he did. But what he did was he accentuated everything around the game. So he made the players the personalities. Where have we heard that before? He made the actual game itself into an event with all the spectacularisation of what was around it. That's what we need to do. Stick to the game sells. We've got what appeals to a sporting audience, we've just never properly sold it, and then just accentuate everything that goes around it once you've sold the idea that if you like sport, you'll love this.
You find things that we haven't named after people and then name them after people. Then we have things to name after. Call the Challenge Cup. The Challenge Cup's not named after them, it's the Challenge Cup. But the statue outside which doesn't have anyone from the right side of the penalty zone.
Well, it's the other thing about naming stands and stuff like that. You know, you have to decide that somebody's contribution is such that it will never be overtaken in its era, and commemorate it.
Do you know where they got shook up? Do you know where it is? Is it still in Huddersfield?
I think going back to a club that is very close to your heart, that when it gets redeveloped, there has to be a Neil Fox stand.
Well, you'd hope so. I'll ask. Next time I'm there, that's all popping. No, Wednesday, because it's the big game. The not Danny Brough testimonial match between Wakefield and Huddersfield.
Should it have been Wakefield and Huddersfield for testimonial? At least there's
I'm
a link
guessing there must have
two.
been some reason why it wasn't. Well, I don't know what that reason was. It's Lee versus Wigan in the Pointers derby. Lee's got no train stations derby.
The Borough Cup.
Yeah. Warrington Salford on Thursday.
Mike Cooper.
Mike Cooper.
Get down there. Support Mike Cooper.
And then we're a week away and it all starts.
Goodness me. Seems like it's only January. Oh, it is.
Oh dear. It's all coming. I know you weren't mentioning Bovril, Tim, but it's not going to sell the sport, is it? People, oh look, community.
I think we've spoken before
It's
about,
all overblown anyway.
about the one thing that Barry Hearn does really well, and his organisation, is they identify the market that they're aiming at and they put things out to suit that market. Yeah. We need to do the same. Who is going to rugby league games at the moment? You know, do we want something that will appeal to the traditional audience that's always gone, that is an ageing one, or do we want to drag in on the edges people to supplement that, by which we you know, the history and the tradition is something that comes secondary to showing them how damn good the sport is in the first place.
That's what everyone was annoyed at last year for the Super League launch, when you actually didn't sell Super League as the core thing of Super League is the actual what goes on the pitch.
Yeah, and we called it New Beginnings, and it technically wasn't. So what are we going to call it this year? What is the hashtag we're all going to go with?
As long as it's not New Era, because that one always fails.
It's hashtag Please TV.
Please can we have some money? Sheila will be there on Thursday. Coops deserves a good turnout. Well, I think it's Thursday night. Nothing. What else is to do in Mornington on Thursday? Darts hasn't started yet. There's no snooker on this week. I don't know what else is on this week. Somebody might be happy on Emmerdale, I don't know. Get down there.
Who's going to play standoff for Warrington in Gareth Widdop's absence?
Is it Det Patton?
I don't know. I think Sheila would. I'd be interested to know who you think should start the season in that game. Will it be Ben Curry, like worked so successfully at Wembley? It's an interesting conundrum for Warrington for the first month of the season. But Tyrone Roberts didn't quite work. Kevin Brown got injured in his last season. It's like they've got the half-back curse at the moment. So
get Matty Smith back from Widnes. Joe Reg with Widnes.
Matt will enjoy himself playing for Widnes, and that makes Widnes, I think, more of a threat than they were before they signed him.
New coach, new players.
Yeah, Tim Sheens and Matty Smith.
Yeah.
It's a recipe.
League Express have gone 6th. 4020 magazine have gone 7th. You put them in the order of the finish, you see, whereas they've put them in alphabetical order, which makes it more confusing. Batley in 12th. Whitehaven and Oldham at the bottom.
Which is, again, the teams coming up get less opportunity to sign players, and it's a harder transition for them. Got League One in there as well from our new League One correspondent, the good Dave Musson.
The old the Burrows.
Bare necessities.
The Burrows. Toby thinks it will be Declan Patton.
Wonder how Declan Patton feels about that, on the basis of the fact that as soon as Gareth Woodup's fit, he's not playing.
He'll be on Joe Redge at Swinton or whatever.
It's tough though for a young kid like
Yeah.
that. You know, how well does he have to play to keep that spot? Because he's not. Now let's be honest. If Stefan Ratchford plays like he did last year, Widdop isn't going to dislodge him at fullback. He's clearly been signed as a halfback, so you're just keeping the seat warm for somebody else, and that must be hard, certainly for Steve Price to manage, but also hard for Declan Patton if he's got to come in and know that he's whatever he does, he loses his place.
Challenge Cup this weekend.
The
draw was made on
Wolf Hunt.
The RFL went and thought we need to get the biggest audience possible for the draw for the Challenge Cup, so they went to a local radio station. I'm trying to be more diplomatic these days. I shouldn't be, but there you go. Saturday on the BBC, Wigan St Pat's versus Westall.
That'll be a good game. Two stalwarts of the community game. Some great players from both clubs. That'll be good. That'll show the community game in a grey light.
And on the Our League Gap,
go the Wolf Hunt
versus West Bowling of Bradford.
The last development team left in Sherwood Wolf Hunt.
So that's if you're not going to a game this weekend, of which there are plenty. There you go. Patronise the Our League Gap and
or even better, go to the game.
Oh, go to the game.
All proceeds to the Rob Burrow benefit fund.
You're going to put the pre-season games, but not the Challenge Cup games, in the fixture list. So Saturday, you can either go watch Swinton versus Warrington,
Reserves.
or watch the game on the BBC. On Sunday, you can watch the game on the Our League, or watch Bradford versus York at Dewsbury. I'm assuming. Where Bradford's women going to play their Super League fixtures this year?
Dudley Hill.
Sorry, Super League, is it? Because we've got ages to wait until the Women's Super League season anyway. So
it'll have its own launch, apparently.
It is, yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to that.
Which is good.
That's some,
what about Courtney Hill playing for the Sydney Roosters
as well? As I said to a fellow columnist, you know, players tend to look better in red, white and blue than blue and amber, but she wasn't having any of it. What she
But great opportunity.
Yeah. Great advert for the Leeds Rhinos brand. I'm sure the Australian commentators, as they show their great knowledge of the Women's Super League during the World
They'll be
Times.
talking about she used to play cricket.
Yeah, they're fully professional there in Britain, in the English Super League.
I used to play cricket.
You still have to do Australian accents. There's every other accent you're allowed to do. But full page with Courtney Hill. My paper, I don't know what's going on with the blue ink at League Week this week. It's a bit purple. The Leeds kit this week. There it is. I do hope when you publish the next issue of Rugby, of 4020 magazine, it's been late, that you do have the picture of Ralph in front of the big organ. And
it's just too easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's too easy. Ralph and an organ.
I need to keep this so I can nick all the quotes to put in my pastry. I can't remember what he said. But I should be excited.
Huddersfield Town Hall.
Yeah.
And its famous organ.
Yeah. All the greats have played there. Don't know who.
Arnold Loxon.
But it was there. It was there. 100, and we're all excited for the birthday. I hope we get our invitation.
This was the other thing that it was announced.
Yeah, having a birthday party.
That we're having in August a birthday party to celebrate the 125th anniversary of the formation of the Northern Union.
Will
there be cake? That's all we want to know.
Obviously, if it's going to be in the George, you think a prize open the door to it. I was looking at No Progress. I don't know if I've taken a picture of it or not. Apparently, the Rugby Football League in 1970 something or other donated a plaque to be put on the wall of the George Hotel to mark the. It's very nice and everything. I don't know if that's still there.
Is it inside?
Well, it's inside, yes. I don't know if it's still there or
Be
not.
on eBay, check eBay.
Is it in the National Rugby League Museum in Bradford? Perhaps Steve got all this stuff out before it shut, because I've still got a dartboard and a trophy back at Radio Yorkshire. Good old Cookhead. Well, I think that's it. Oh, Cat, on when they're doing the Wigan League game on Thursday, or Lee versus Wigan, Zach Hardacre's going to be doing the commentary.
Really?
Well, it says he's on the coverage.
Is there a bleep?
Maybe it's just like a video of him saying something. I don't know. So, Zach Hardacre could be the next Roy King.
Interesting to see where he is going to play positionally this year, because again, he's got the number one, but he started in the centre with Bevan French at fullback yesterday.
Wayne Bennett had done that. I don't want to be kicking off. But
don't read too much into pre-season results, everyone.
Or squad numbers. Anything else people shouldn't read too much into? What they should read into, of course, is
new edition.
Yeah.
With a grey cover.
Oh, it's a superb cover. It's art. Is that the AJ Bell?
It's
I mean, it could be any of the identity stadiums, couldn't it? Yeah. There's a red team and there's a blue team.
But the question is the sun rising or the sun setting?
And I'm sure that is the Super League logo, isn't it? That is what it is.
Cheers.
Yes, even I.
Almost like it was planned.
Is there anything else in this that people should go out of the way of reading? Because obviously it's brand new out this week.
Well, the Divine Lady Claire Balding is back. She's going to be the next president of the RFL.
My concern is for Mike Smith, who is going to be her vice president, is that he won't be able to get the chains out of Carl Hall's possession. He was there on Thursday at the World Cup draw.
He goes down the supermarket and
likes going in his dressing gown. So I'm concerned he's never going to. Those chains, they ain't leaving Carl Hall. They're not going. Lou McCarthy Scarsbrook, his special shirt. That's a nice shirt. It's with the old EastEnders logo. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a nice shirt. I saw some shocking shirts out there this year.
You can disagree with all our predictions in all three leagues.
Oh, no, you got it wrong. You got some hells finishing top.
It's a prediction.
Yeah. It's got to be right. I don't know.
And you should read Martin Keller anyway, because it should be obligatory.
I'll have a read of it now. I did something in the paper about Catalan's TV deal, but I didn't read it because I forgot.
I think it's safe to say that both Toronto and Catalan will have a TV deal of sorts.
Yes.
Might not be every minute of every game, but they will both be featured.
Every minute matters.
Well, it did once, doesn't it?
Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to that? I don't know. When did every minute matter? Not last week. Some superb pictures in the magazine as ever. As it says, the Illustrated Rugby League magazine. So next week, hopefully Mark's voice has come back, and I don't know if the legend's going to be with us next week, but he will be back with us at some point in the near future. But we haven't sacked him. How can you get sacked for something you're not paid for?
I think it's safe to say that you'll see him as soon as he can see you.
And we're going, oh, be back on and doing the usual stuff. And then when he's here, people will go, oh.
I think he'll be coughing occasionally.
Oh, biscuits. Or.
Yeah. I've eaten my finger by accident.
What else does he say? Vision awareness. Boy, oh boy. All that kind of
We're missing. Yeah. He'll be back.
Like,
we're saving him for the big games.
Subscribe.
It's a long season.
It's a long season. Someone say 2.
He's of an age where he doesn't need a big pre-season.
Michael has smashed the like button. That's what you got to do. That's what the people say on all the young YouTube people say. Smash the like button.
What does that mean?
You think it's good for the algorithms?
Okay.
Like, share, subscribe. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Because like the people tell you to do that on the podcast. Don't even leave a review. Just leave 5 stars. It looks better. I like it when people leave us 2 and you go, oh, we done wrong. Some people from Bradford. So it is. We know who you are. We're coming for you.
Thank you for watching again.